Hey guys, and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to talk about 2021 Foundation Tier 1F. Okay, now let's start with the questions. Yeah. Yes. As you can see in this paper, they will give you some formulas that you might need to use or you might need to answer the questions. Now let's start with the questions here. Question one. We have 8, 9, 17, 35, 48, and 80. From the numbers in the box, write down a factor of 40. First, you need a factor of 40. Let's understand what's the meaning of factors. Factors means the numbers that when you multiply by each other, you get 40. So they are what? It's 1 times 40, good. 2 times 20, 3 doesn't work. 4 times 10, and then we have 5 times 8, good. And these are the factors of 40. And one of them is here, so the answer will be 8. So 8 is a factor of 40. Now, let's move on to the next question. Focus on the questions. So the first one, factor of 40 is 8. Second question, a multiple of 7. Multiple of 7. A multiple of 7, it means the numbers in the 7 times table. So we have 7, and then 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. 7, and it goes on like this. Now, the numbers that we have, which is a, no, a multiple of 7, is 35. So the answer is 35. Okay, so you have to write it down. Now, let's move on to the next one. A prime number. We need a prime number. We know prime numbers, they start with 2. Let's take a look at the table here. Yes. So prime numbers, let's write them here. We have 2, and then 3, then 5, and then 7, and then we have 11, and then 13, and it goes on like this. 13, 17, yes, 17, and then 19. So one of them is here, so it's the 17. So the prime number is 17. Yes, 17. Now, next one. Let's go down. Question D. A square number. A square number means what? A number that comes from multiplying the same number by itself. We know square numbers. We can find square numbers by multiplying numbers by each other. Square numbers are 1 times 1, which is 1. So the first square number is 1. And then we have 2 times 2 equals 4. So second one is 4. 3 times 3 equals 9. And then we have 4 times 4 equals 16. And the list goes on. 5 times 5 is 25. So a square number, which is in the box here, it's the 9. Very good. So the answer is 9. So the square number that we're looking for is 9. Now let's move on. Next question. The two numbers with a difference of 31. This means two numbers. When you subtract them, you get 31. Let's take a look at the list. So we need two numbers. When you subtract them, you get 31. So we can try subtracting numbers. For example, we can say 48 minus 8. 80 minus 8 is a big number. It's more than 31. They need 31 as a difference. So we will try some of them. You can do it with a calculator. I'll check the 48. 48 minus 8 equals 40. So it doesn't work. So 48 minus 9 equals 39. And then 48 minus 17 equals 31. So the answer is 17 and 48. When you subtract them, you get 31. Now let's move on to the next question. Here. So we did question E, and that's it for question 1. Now let's take a look at question 2. The diagram shows part of a number line. This is a number line. Write down the number marked with the arrow. So this is the arrow. We need the number here. Now, first, let's take a look at the numbers. We have 12, and here we have 13. 12, and then 13. As you can see, it goes by what? Very good. By decimal points. How do we find how many decimal points we have each time? Very good. We can say that between 12 and 13, there are maybe 10 decimal points, for example. We can divide 10 by these five and we will get 2. It means it goes by 0.2 every time. So this one is 12.2. Let's make it smaller. So this one is 12.2 and then 12.4. Okay, like this. And then 12.6 on the arm. And this one is 12.8. And after that, we get 13. So the answer would be, very good, 12.6. So the arrow is pointing to 12.6. Now, let's write it in the answer. Let me write it with a bigger number here. Okay, so the answer is 12.6. Now let's move on to the next one. Here we have a scale. Let's go down. The diagram shows a parcel on weighing scales, weighing scales. Yes, a parcel on a weighing scales. So we have something here, a parcel on a weighing scale. The parcel weigh less than 6 kilograms. So it's less than 6 kilograms. How many kilograms less? How many kilograms less? That means what is the difference between 6 kilograms and the number here? First, we have to find the number here. As we can see, the numbers between the 4 and the 5 are going by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. And 5 spaces, as we said, it means 0 0.2, 0 0.2. So every time we go by 0 0.2, it means that this one here is 0 0.2, and then 0 0.4, and then 0 0.6. So this means this one is 0 0.6. And when we add 0 0.6 to 4, it's going to be 4.6, like this. So this one is 4.6 kilograms. The last one here, the arrow, is 4.6 kilograms. Now the question wants how many kilograms less. It means what's the difference between 6 and 4.6. We can subtract them to find out the difference. So 6 minus 4.6 equals, you can do this with the calculator, and the answer will be 1.4. So the answer is 1.4 kilograms. Now, when you read a question, you have to finish the question so you understand what do they want in the question. For example, some people will read this, will take a look at the diagram, shows a parcel like this. They will think that they want what's here. But the idea is you have to read all the question to understand what they need. Now, let's move on to the next question. Here, question C. Change 7.6 meters into centimeters. So we're going to change this into centimeters. We understand that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So to turn from meters to centimeters, we multiply by 100. We multiply by 100. So we're going to take the 7.6 multiplied by 100, and the answer will be, we can use a calculator to do this, 7.6 times 100, and it's 760. So the answer is 760 centimeters. Focus when you turn units into each other, and you'll get the idea. Question D. Change 91,600 milliliters into liters. Now, in the first question, we turned a bigger unit into a smaller one. When you turn a bigger unit into a smaller unit, you multiply. But when you're doing the opposite, like here, you're going to divide. You're going to divide. So we know that 1 liter, let's write it here, 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters, like this. So the answer will be divided by 1,000. It means we're going to divide this by 1,000. So we're going to say 91,600 divide 1,000. And why are we dividing? Because we're turning a smaller unit into a bigger one. So the answer 91,600, 91,600 divide 1,000 is going to be 91.6. So the answer is 91.6 liters. And this is how you answer a question like this. So when you turn units into each other, you have to focus which one is bigger and which one is smaller. Now let's move on to the next question. Ivan goes to the gym at 7:15. Write this time using the 24-hour clock system. Now, when you turn a system or when you turn time into a 24-hour system, if it's in PM, you just add 12 to it. If it's in AM, you just add a zero before it. Or if it's like, yes, 12, you don't add anything, but you add a zero like this. So, for example, this one is 0 to 15. This is 2 AM and 24-hour system. Now, if it's PM, as we said, we're going to add 12 to the hours. So it's going to be 7 plus 12, and the answer will be 19. So the clock in the 24-hour system will be 19:15, like this, 19:15. And this is in the 24-hour clock system. Now let's move on to the next question. Focus on turning units and hours. Question 3. Find the number that exactly halfway between 3.7 and 6.1. It means find half of it. So it means add them together and divide them by 2. That's the idea of finding half of numbers. So 3.7 plus 6.1 equals, so we're going to add them first, 3.7 plus 6.1, and we got 9.8. 9.8. Okay. Now, 9.8 here, we're going to divide it by 2. So to find half of something, you have to divide by 2. So let's take a line of dividing like this, and then divide it by 2 to find half the way between them. This is 2, and then equals. So you can use a calculator here. 9.8 divided 2 is going to be 4.9. 4.9. So the answer is 4.9. And this is exactly halfway between these two numbers. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 4. Simplify. 3 times 10t. When you multiply the coefficients first, which are the numbers, and then you multiply the variables if you have variables on different sides. But if you have one variable, you just put it as it is. So 3 times 10 is going to be 30. And then you put the d next to it. So it's going to be 30d. Now let's come to this. Here we have the same variables being added and subtracted. So we're going to work on the coefficients, add them and subtract. So this one is going to be 1e. So 8 plus 1 is going to be 9. And then 9 minus 5 is going to be 4. So the answer is going to be 4e. Focus on this. If they have the same variable, it means you're going to add the coefficients and subtract them. And this is the idea of answering this question. Now here, solve 6g equals 42. 6g equals 42. Now to solve this, it means I'm going to make g the subject. Now to make g the subject, I'm going to remove the 6. The 6 here is multiplied by the g. So I'm going to take it by dividing or divide both sides by 6. Same idea works and it will give you the same answer. So here, divided both sides by 6. This 6 and this 6 gives you 1. So g equals 42 divided 6. So g equals, let's do it with the calculator, 42 divide 6. And the answer is 7. The answer is 7. Now, when you simplify, focus on the numbers, focus on the coefficients, and focus on the signs between them. And even with solving, you have to focus on the steps and how to do them, okay? Now let's move on to the next one. Here we have solved 24 equals 10 plus h. We need h, so we're going to make h the subject. It means I have a plus 10 here. I'm going to take it to the other side. This is positive 10. I'm going to take it to the other side and change the sign, so it's going to be negative 10. So we have 24 minus 10 equals h. So h equals 24 minus 10. And then h equals 14. Very good. And this is the answer of this question. When you solve, focus on the steps, turning or taking numbers to the other sides and changing the signs. If it's plus, make it minus. If it's minus, make it plus. Addition, subtraction are the opposite. Multiplying and dividing are the opposite of each other. Now, let's move on to the next question. Question 5. Let's write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. So we need to start with the smallest number and put them in order. Now, when we take a look at the numbers, we notice that all of them start with a 2. Because all of them start with a 2, I'm going to skip the 2 to the other numbers. So I'm not going to look at the 2 anymore. I'm going to look at the number after the decimal point now, and then put them in order using this number. There are two methods. I can look or use my eyes to do that, or I can put them on top of each other and use the logical ordering techniques. Now, let me put them on each other. Maybe it's better for you like that so you don't have mistakes. Let me first cover this. I can use the space here. Okay. Now, first, I'm going to put them on top of each other and then order them depending on their size. The first one is 2.08. Second one, 2.13. Then 2.7. And then 2.0034. And the last one, 2.111. Now, I noticed that all of them don't have the same numbers or the same number of numbers or same numbers here. For example, this one has three numbers, 3, 2, 5, 4. Now, I have to make them the same by filling the gaps with zeros. Because this one has 5, I'm going to fill all of them with 5. So 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. This one has 5. This one has 4. I'm going to add 5 to it. Now, all of them have 5 numbers, so I added an extra number on the back, which is the 0. It doesn't change the value, but it helps me with ordering the numbers. Now, I'm going to remove this here, as I said, because all of them start with a 2, so I'm not going to count the 2 anymore. Now, I'm going to talk about these numbers here. I'm going to search for the smallest size, so we need the smallest one. So first, this one is a 0, 1, 7, 0, 1. Now, if I take a look at the numbers like this in total, I'll notice that I can read them together. This is 800, 1,300, 7,000, 34, 1,110. Now I can order them by size, and the smallest will be 34. So I'm going to put one here next to it so I know it's the first one. After 34, I have the 800. Very good. So this is the second one. And then after 800, I have 1,110. This is the third one. And then I have 1,300. It's the fourth. And the biggest one will be the 7,000. So I'm going to pick 5 here. Now I have them in order. Now I can write them here. So the first one is 2.0034. And then let me make it smaller. Okay. Second one is 2.08. I don't have to write the zeros that I added here. I just write the numbers as they are here. Now, after this, the third one is 2.111. And the fourth is 2.13. And then the fifth, which is the last one, 2.7. And this is how you put numbers in order of size. Now, let's move on to the next question. here. Question B. Write this correct to two decimal places. When you write a number correct to a decimal place, it means you look at the numbers after the decimal point and you start counting. And you have to involve or take the number before the decimal point. So this one is going to be in the answer. Now you start counting after the decimal point. So we have 1, 2. So these are two numbers after the decimal point. Now, you look at the number outside of the box that you made, which is the 9. The 9 is a big number. Because it's big, it's going to add 1 to the number after it. So the 3 will become 4. So the answer will be 5.84. And how did the 3 become 4? Because the 9 is a big number, so it added 1 to the 3. And this is how you write numbers correct to two decimal places. Focus on the question. If it's wants to decimal places, you count after the decimal point. If it wants significant figures, you start counting from the first number, but you don't start with zeros. But if you have zeros in the middle, you have to count them. Now let's move on to the next one. Here we have question C. Write this as a fraction, 0.73 as a fraction. Now, if you write this in the calculator, 0.73, and you push equal, it will give you the fraction, which is 73 over 100. Now you can do it now, or understand it from here. Because these are two numbers, it means they will have zeros instead of them. So it's going to be 100 in the denominator, because two zeros, two numbers, two zeros. And then you write the same number, which is 73 here. Or you can use the calculator method. It's up to you. Same method, both methods are the same. They will give you the right answer. Now, let's move on to the next question. Write down the value of the 6 in the number 0.067. They want the value of the 6. Now, as you see, this is a decimal point. It means this is a tenth. This is a tenth. And after the tenth, we have hundredth. Hundredths. Good. So the value will be hundredth. Yeah. So it's going to be hundredths. Like this. So you write it like this. Hundred. And this is the value of the 6. Of the 6 and this number. Okay. Now let's move on. Next question. Question C. Write this as a decimal. Same idea. 17% means 17 over 100. So it's going to be 17 over 100. And because they need it in a decimal, it means you have to turn this in a decimal. You can use a calculator, and the answer will be like this, 0.17. 0.17. Now, let's move on to the next question. Okay, we have question F here. 17%, 70% of a number is 252. Work out the number. So it means they want you to work out the number that when you multiply it by 70%, you get 252. So we're going to do it as an equation. We're going to say, for example, A times 70%, which is 70 over 100, like this, 70 over 100. So when you multiply A by 70 over 100, like this, you will get what? You will get 252. 252, like this. That's the idea of this question. So they need you to find the number that when you multiply it by 70%, you get 252. Now you will start answering. So it's going to be A multiplied by 70 over 100 is 0.7 as a decimal equals 252. Now, because this one is multiplied, I'm going to take it to the other side by dividing. So I'm going to take the 0.7 to the other side by dividing. So A equals 252, 252 divide 0.7. Like this. 252 divide 0.7. Focus on the steps and you'll get the idea. Now, when you use the calculator, 252 divide 0.7, and the answer is 360. So focus on the steps, focus on the question and what they need in the question. The most important thing is finishing the question, reading the whole question, and understanding what they need you to do. Now let's move on to the next step. Next question. Here, question 6. Let's zoom out. It's a long question. Okay, here we go. Now, Janine has 2 liters of orange squash. She also has some empty cups. When full, each cup holds 300 milliliters of orange squash. Janine fills as many cups as possible. How much orange squash does Janine have left after filling as many cups as possible? State the units of your answer. The word as many cups as possible, it means a full cup. Focus on this. The word as many cups as possible means the full cup. First, we have 2 liters of cups, or 2 liters of the juice itself. We can turn this into liters or turn this into milliliters. It's up to you. It will give you the same answer. Now, let me show you the steps of doing this question. Now, we know that each cup, first we have 2000 milliliters because we turn it into milliliters. So 2000 milliliters of juice. Let's put it here. Each cup takes what? It takes 300 milliliters. So each small cup takes 300 milliliters. So we write here 300. I'm just drawing to show you the idea. So 300 milliliters. Let's make this bigger. Now we want to know how many full cups she will fill with this 2000 milliliters. So we're going to divide the 2000 over 300. First step we're going to do, we're going to take the 2000 and divide it by the 300. Let's make it bigger. Divide this by the 300. Okay. Let's make a fraction line so we understand the idea. So when we divide this 2000 by the 300, it will give me 6.6. 6.6, and the 6 is a recurring number. So 6.666. This means a full 6 cups. I'm not focusing on the decimals. I focus on the total number only because I need full cups. So it means 6 full cups, and this is the rest. Okay. Now, because I know that it will fill 6 cups, now I'm gonna take the 6 cups like this and multiply it by the 300 milliliters to find out how many milliliters I'm going to use for the 6 cups. So 6 times 300 is going to be 1,800. So I'm going to use 1,800 milliliters of this 2,000 milliliters. Now I'm going to subtract them. So because I started with 2,000 minus 1,800 that I'm going to use to fill the total cups of 6, and I'll be left with 200 milliliters of extra juice. And this is the idea of this question. So you have to focus on how we did this. First, we divided this by this. We got 6 cups. Now I multiply 6 cups by 300. So I'm going to use 1,800 milliliters. Now I subtract the 1,800 milliliters by the 2,000 milliliters, and I'll end up with 200 milliliters extra. And this is how you answer a question like this. Now, you can make it liters by dividing by 1,000, and the answer will be 0.2 liters. If you give this answer, it's okay. If you give this one, no problem, as long as you have the units next to it. Now, let's move on to the next question. Question 7. The diagram shows a rectangle and a square. This is the rectangle. This is the square. The perimeter of the rectangle is equal to the perimeter of the square. The area of the rectangle is less than the area of the square. Work out by how much the area of the rectangle is less than the area of the square. Now, the first thing we have to do, we have to find the sides of the square. And then we're going to find the area of this rectangle and the area of the square and subtract them by each other. Now, let's find first the perimeter of the rectangle. So as we say that the perimeters are equal. Now, because this one is 10, this one will be 10, same now line, and this one will be 6. Now, to find the perimeter, we're going to add the sides together. So 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 20 is going to be 36. 36. So 10, 10, 20, and 12, 36. So the first step, we add them all together. 10 plus 10 plus 6 plus 6. 32, I'm sorry. Yes, 32. My bad. So when we add them together, it's going to be 32. 32. Now we know that the lines together are 32. This is the perimeter of this rectangle, and it's the same perimeter as the square. Now to find the perimeter of the square, we know that the sides are equal, and there are four sides. So I'm going to take the 32 and divide it by 4. So 32 divide 4 will give me what? Will give me the sides of the square. So 32 divide 4 is going to be 8. So all sides of the square will be 8. So 8, 8, 8, 8. Focus on the steps. First thing we did, we found the perimeter of the rectangle, and then we took it, divided by 4 to find the sides of the square. Now we're going to work on the area part. So first, we're going to find the area of the rectangle by multiplying the width by the length. So 10 times 6. So the area of the rectangle, 10 times 6 equals 60. This is the area of the rectangle. Now, the area of the square is 8 times 8. 8 times 8. So I multiply 8 by 8. So be like this, 8 times 8. And this is how you find the area of the square. So 8 times 8, or 8 squared, same idea, is going to be 64. Now, I want to know how much less, or how much the area of the rectangle is less than the area of the square. So I'm going to subtract them by each other. 64 minus 60 will equal 4. So the answer is 4. Focus on the steps. First thing, I made these equal because it's a rectangle. And then I added them to find the perimeter. And then divided them by 4 to find these. And then found the area here by multiplying width by length, width by length. And then I subtracted the area to find the difference between the areas. Now, let's move on to the next question. Question 8. Some students leaving a language school, like this. Some students leaving a language school one day were each asked uh, which language lesson they had just attended. The table and the pie chart give some information about their answers. You know, I don't think time will fit me to do this question because it has a lot of questions. So we're gonna do this in the next video. Um, we're gonna do question 8 in the next video. Yes, yes. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.